Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room with myself, Louis Fell. I hope you are all doing well. It's another episode of the chat room by the viewers for the viewers. That means it's led by you guys, what you want to talk about, what is important for you at the moment in terms of Liverpool Football Club. Let me turn that down. So please do make sure that throughout this video you get involved in the live chat as much as possible. It makes the video that much better when there's lots of activity in the live chat. You get to talk to each other, but you can also get your thoughts and opinions and questions in, and we will talk about them. We'll go through it all. We'll discuss whatever you'd like to and more. So let's get into it. Make sure, of course, that you do like this video and that you do subscribe to the channel as well. It's massively important. It really helps us out. Much appreciated if you can do that. Now, lots to talk about today, so let's jump straight into it. And that is, of course, the result yesterday evening. Liverpool versus Rangers in the Champions League match day 3. Finished 2-0 to Liverpool. We, of course, had a live watch-along, post-match reaction to that as well. So I hope you were around for that, or if not, you're able to enjoy the game somehow. Now, the biggest thing, we all know, was that formation change. Matthias, hope you're doing well. Good to see you again, as well as everybody who is just joining in as well. Please do get involved in the live chat so we can get this party rocking on this fine Wednesday night. Jen, good evening. Hope you are doing well as well. Now, the big thing about yesterday was, of course, that formation switch. Now, for however, God knows how long, we've been playing good old 4-3-3, haven't we? We know what we can. We've been playing it for a while. We know what we can do, and it's felt like for at least the start of this season, other teams have also known what we're going to do. So it's felt like this has maybe been a long time coming to get that kind of switch around in terms of the formation, etc. Did I think it would arrive for Liverpool versus Rangers on October the 4th? Not necessarily. Did I think we would get one? I wasn't sure. Because we have stuck to 4-3-3 on so many occasions when times have gotten tough. Even in that season where we were so heavily injured in terms of defenders, etc., and we nearly lost out on top 4, we still stuck to a 4-3-3. So I can't honestly sit here and say that I expected us to change it, but we did. And I think for everybody here, at least, it was an incredibly welcome change, if we're being honest. It obviously did the trick. Now, what was the exact formation? We will get into that and we'll dissect it a little bit more in detail. I'm also keen to try and work out, and you guys can help me with this, are we going to persist with it? That is obviously the title of this video. That's the thumbnail. Is this our new formation? Was this brought in against Rangers because that's what we're going to switch to because the 4-3-3 is no longer viable, either due to playing staff available or the tactics just not working for whatever reason. So what is the outcome of this game? What are the long-term effects on our team and our tactics? Will we keep it? We're going to go back to 4-3-3 on Sunday. We'll talk about it all. Jen says, I thought last night was the best. We've played for ages where we look like we played for the first time in ages where we look like our old selves, and if that goalkeeper hadn't been so good, Starwin would have had a hat-trick. See, I don't think he was even that good. I just think Núñez just needed to have a bit more confidence in himself. He struck the ball almost... Someone said it in the live chat yesterday. They hit the ball almost too true. And I completely get that. I completely understand what he's saying. He didn't take any risks. He was just, let's get it on target and let's see what happens. And to be fair to him, he hit the target more times than not, didn't he? And they were, the technique was there. The technique was good. It was just too safe. A lot of times maybe he could have tried dinking the keeper or looping it around him, but more often than not he just chose to strike it straight at the goal in hope that it would beat the goalkeeper organically or the keeper would fumble it, what have you. And, McGregor was just alive to it, and I still can't believe he's 40 years old. I mean, good job, I guess. Philip Bidwell, hope you're doing well, says we looked a lot better and we should stick with the new formation for the most part. Well, let's talk about this formation, shall we? So it was a lot of people were confused as to whether it was a 4-2-4, a 4-2-3-1, or anything else of that nature. Klopp came out in his press conference and said it was a 4-4-2. So 4-4-2, you can also take that to mean a 4-2-4. So not a 4-2-3-1. But that's where, you need to not get too caught up in exactly what the formation is on paper. Jota effectively, at times, operated as a 10. Or you could say a false 9, I guess. He was the one out of him and Núñez in the centre who was dropping deeper to link up between the midfield and the attack. And he did it fantastically. We've got to take our hats off and say that, haven't we? Diogo Jota looked brilliant. Along with most players in that game, he looked fantastic, and we just got to hope that he is pretty much recovered from that injury now. It was a long layoff. He missed all of pre-season, missed the start of the season. So fingers crossed that's all behind him, and he can really push on now. Peter Bunn says Salah bottom corner and Jota top left, both world-class saves. Yep, those ones, yeah, but the ones from Darwin Núñez, I think most of them were straight. Maybe there was one or two good saves in there. I think most of them were straight at him, or pretty close to him. Basically, there's a difference between a good save and a brilliant save. A brilliant save is one that you would not expect the keeper to make. A good save is one that is like, yeah, well done, you've done your job well there. But if it had gone in, you'd be asking questions of the goalkeeper. And most of Núñez's shots were those type of ones where the keeper makes a save and you take your hat off, you applaud and you say good save. But if any of those had gone in the way that they were hit, you would say, McGregor's passed it, what's he doing there? Jota was brilliant and Costas was awesome, says Jen. Yeah, make sure you're getting involved in the live chat, everybody. Thank you, everybody who is just joining. Please do like and subscribe and get involved in the live chat. Your comments will appear here and I will interact with every single one of them and we'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. But hopefully it's to do with yesterday and this new formation because that is the main topic. But if it's not, that's also fine. We'll talk about whatever you want here on the LFC Transfer Room. So this 4-4-2 with the front two of Núñez and Jota, it feels good because for some reason Salah just looked so much more involved in play and he looked so much brighter. Obviously got scored the penalty. Diaz as well looked, he's been fantastic all season anyway, but he looked much more involved with the game and not just left to his own devices. He was, actively beating players in dangerous positions. He was winning the ball back and he was getting into the box and obviously won the penalty through a terrific dribble. Like, I wish he'd had a chance to finish that off because that would have been like up there for, the Puskas Award. What's the best goal? The best goal awards. I don't know what it's called, but it would have definitely been up there. Also, shout out to the centre backs as well, Matip and Van Dijk. I haven't seen us look that dominating defensively for a while. Obviously, Rangers still had chances, especially towards the end of the game, and I do want to talk about that later. But the stuff that they were doing in that game, man, they were coming halfway inside Rangers' half to make tackles and to win us the ball back when Rangers thought they had a chance of getting out. They were coming halfway inside Rangers' half just to make a challenge that if they didn't make would have left us completely exposed to the back. But they did, and they did it multiple times. I haven't seen us do that for a fair while. I think we have done it, maybe against Bournemouth, maybe against Ajax. But the majority of this season, we've looked scared, or if we did make those challenges, we failed, and then the other team did go and make a counter attack. So hats off to them. Before I get into anything else, Jen says Salah looked like a new person. I think he was much better when Núñez and Jota are there as well, and also the defence was solid and strong. Absolutely. You've nailed it all pretty much on the head there. But let's get back to the attack because I think that was the important bit, wasn't it? Jota was acting as the false 9 / number 10. More a false 9 because he was part of that front four, that attacking unit. Sometimes, or not all the time. Sometimes he would be up there with them and it would just be a flat bank of 4. Other times he would drop back into the false nine or the number 10, however you want to say it, shadow striker. If you're a football manager connoisseur. And his link-up play was second to none. Núñez, on the other hand, was that person going in behind, and we actually looked like we involved him in the game. He wasn't having to chase down scraps over on the left wing. He was going over there sometimes, but it felt more intentional. It felt active. It felt like this was what was meant to be happening in this game. Other times throughout the season, he's felt very isolated in a front three, especially because Salah and Núñez just seemed to be so wide for some reason. So he was constantly having to, overextend himself, go out to places that we didn't want him at those specific times, vacating his spot in the centre just to get a touch of the ball at times. But yesterday, having Jota next to him and just having a much more dynamic front four with Diaz and Salah not being afraid to cut inside, it just created so many more interesting avenues of ways that we could use Núñez, and it gave Núñez much more of a chance to actually shine. The runs he was making... Look, the only thing missing from Núñez's game was a goal, or two or three. Everything else, his link-up play, his first touch, his dribbling, his runs in behind were second to none. They were brilliant. I can't speak highly enough of how many times he got himself free of his defender and got himself into interesting goal-scoring positions. Now, ultimately, he is a striker, and he does need to score. That's what we pay him for. But you've got to have faith. You've got to have faith that will come. I saw a funny TikTok the other day about it, and it was a Chelsea supporter. Obviously, they had Timo Werner. He was comparing the two, and he was saying, Liverpool are in he's making the good runs stage, as in he's not going to be good. He's always missing good chances, but we're trying to we're in denial. We're trying to cover up his failings, and that kind of struck a nerve. I was a bit like, oh God, are we in that? Are we in denial a little bit? But no, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick to my guns here, and I'm going to say I back Núñez 100%. And I think he'll be much better in the Premier League than Werner ever was. I think Werner, he just looked like a very awkward goal scorer, whereas Núñez, I think, as I said, he strikes the ball so well and so cleanly. It's just a shame it's been straight at the goalkeeper, but I think that is a confidence thing. And as Jen says, given a run out of games, the goals will flow. I would like to believe that is 100% correct. If we get him in the team for the next few games against Arsenal, against Rangers in the week, against Man City, playing, 90, 60, 90, 100%, I think we'll start to see the best of him. That then brings us to a very interesting dilemma about this formation, which is, do we keep it against Arsenal? Do we keep it against Man City? And we'll talk about the pros and cons of that in just a second. But I just want to make sure I get through everybody's comments. VW Music Playlist says Trent needs to go to defender school. Jen says even Hendo stepped up, which makes a change, but I'll only be impressed if he gets his finger out for the rest of the season. I'll talk about Henderson next, actually. Hendo has to play over, say, Elliott, otherwise there's no one to cover Trent's. Can't defend, won't defend when he goes AWOL. Also, shout out to Allison, he was brilliant, says Jen. And VW says, let's stick with 4 up front. Peter Bunn says, Arsenal on Sunday will be a big test. Do you think we dare play this 4-2-3-1 against Arsenal? And VW says, Núñez can't hit a barn door, unfortunately. Well, he can. He got it on target. And Werner wasn't awkward. He was amazing in the Bundesliga. Yeah, in the Bundesliga, but in the Premier League, he was awkward. He had pace, he could run, but when it got to being in front of goal, he was awkward as hell. That's why he is now back in the Bundesliga. I reckon Núñez has a club foot or something. He can't seem to shoot straight. What are you talking about? I know he didn't score, and I know he should have scored, but he didn't sky every chance. Most of them were on target. He shot 2 straight. That's what I keep saying. That was the problem. He was striking the ball too well, too purely. you criticise him not scoring a goal, but he wasn't clumping everything over the bar. It was on target. Anissa says, I'm not confident that Klopp will keep it for Arsenal and City. We'll talk about that in a second as well. And Carter, good to see you, says, we don't know if this will work. Rangers were much worse than Bournemouth. Every had so much time on the ball. Everyone had so much time on the ball. Sorry, Carter. Got there in the end. And Jen says, remember, we had to change. We haven't got the front three anymore, and we have to back the boys and get the level up. So there is a lot to unpick, and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So keep the comments coming in so that I don't forget. Henderson, the midfield two. So for the majority of the game, it was Thiago and Henderson, wasn't it? Hats off to Henderson. I think that's the first thing we need to say. I think most channels, me as well, a lot of people on the LFC transfer room, a lot of people on Twitter have had it up to here with Henderson on the whole, I think. Some people still back him. I think Redmond TV are quite guilty of not critiquing Jordan Henderson. That's the vibe I get by some of the comments sometimes. But regardless of what your standpoint is on Henderson, whether you think he's washed or you still think he's brilliant, whatever, when he has a good performance, you have to put your agenda down and just say you had a good performance. In that defensive two with Thiago, he looked really confident. He was actually, he actually showed that maturity that we know he's got, and he actually stuck to his position. So many times this season, whether deployed in an 8 or in a 6, he has just buggered off up the pitch, sometimes being on number 9, like our furthest forward player. And even though Elliott gets slated for not covering Trent, Henderson hasn't done it for a good 18 months. He was constantly abandoning, even when he was deployed in a 6, I can't remember which game that was, in place of Fabinho. He ended up being our furthest forward midfielder and almost at times our furthest forward player because he was making runs into the box. I hope that was unintentional, and I hope that Klopp picked up on it and had words with him. And I hope that message has now stuck and we won't see that again for the rest of his career, because he's got nothing. I don't think he's got anything to offer really in the final third. I genuinely believe that. I don't think he's got anything to offer us positive in the final third. In the middle third, in the defensive third, absolutely. What we saw from him yesterday night, was the best that he has to offer us, and I will take it. His performance was fine. It was good. It was brilliant. He was lobbing beautiful balls over the top for Nunes, Diaz, Salah to run onto. Almost looked a bit Thiago-esque, which I don't mean he genuinely is like that, but he was in a position. He put himself into positions where he was able to pick out those passes rather than getting into the half space outside the box and whipping one in that never goes anywhere. This time on the halfway line, he was able to dink little balls over the top, and it put Nunes into great goal-scoring positions, which Nunes should have finished from. And regardless of what you think on Henderson, you've got to acknowledge that and take your hat off to him for that. In that midfield two, which is a much deeper two than the 4-3-3 midfielders would be. That is where he's best. At this point in his career, he's lost that athleticism. He doesn't have that engine that can keep him going for a full 90 minutes. He can't just run and get an 8 out of 10 because he ran the most out of anybody. He can't do that anymore. So he needs to be more selective. He needs to stop trying to get forward as frequently as he was doing earlier in the season, and potentially then we could have him in the team most weeks and it not be as much of a problem. We'll need him to be, because his partner was Thiago, and Thiago will not stay fit between now and the end of the season. I guarantee that. I'll put good money on it, and you can come back to this at any point. He will get some kind of knock, whether it's for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, whatever. Thiago will pick up an injury. We can't rely on it being Thiago and Fabinho at all times playing in the midfield, because even though they're our best duo by a long shot, it's just unrealistic based on what we know about the players available to us. Thiago will get injured. So if we go forward with this formation and we have Henderson there and he plays not even as well, but in the same manner and with the same set of instructions as he played last night, I'm actually confident in his abilities to do a job for us. Let me know what you think about it. Jordan Henderson playing in the the two number 6 roles alongside either Fabinho or Thiago. Let's get a few more. There's been lots of comments, so thank you very much for that. Please do like the video, by the way, if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe to the channel and continue getting involved in the live chat as well. Where did we get up to? Carter says if Núñez keeps up these shot numbers, he will get a lot of goals. Well, that is the positive spin with it. He's scored a lot. I mean, he's taken a lot of shots. He's an output monster. He's been described as. As soon as he starts finishing 1 or 2 of them per game, then we're in business, aren't we? Henderson found his level. He should go play for Celtic, says Carter. Well, that's the more negative side of looking at it, but still realistic, I guess. Tally ho all 4-2-4 has to stay. Diaz, Jota, Núñez, Salah are the 4 arrows. It's a lot to ask of them, though, isn't it? I mean, that's another interesting dynamic, is that we're not blessed with wide players and strikers. We're used to having a 4-3-3, and we've got good depth as a front 3. But with a front 4, you're using a lot of your options in one go. Like, this is why I'm not confident that we'll stick with it. Not only from a tactical perspective and Klopp doing what he knows and trusts best, which I think is a 4-3-3. But if you're playing Núñez, Jota, Salah and Diaz, and we're playing 3 games a week up until and after the World Cup, who else comes in? Yes, Elliott and Carvalho could probably do a job on one of the wings, but really, are they our backup at this point? I don't think so. I don't know if they've got the numbers to back that up and to be like genuine competition at this point for those front 4. We've got Firmino, but that's about it, and he'll only play in the centre. I can't imagine how bad it would be to have Firmino on the wing at this point in his career, with his age, his ability, his pace, his physicality. Imagine him starting on the wing for Liverpool. It doesn't fill me with confidence. So, exactly as Anissa says, our bench would be quite weak if we play all 4 of them, to be honest. Cedric, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you to everybody who is joining, by the way. I feel like I speak too quickly sometimes. I keep losing where I was. Anissa says, what's happening with Mello? And Carter says, Arthur is in the basement. Yeah, I don't know, because I saw someone say, like, he hasn't been registered for the Champions League squad yesterday. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But then he was in the squad that he came on against Napoli, didn't he? So that's not what it was. So I don't know. It's a little bit sad, isn't it, what's happening with Arthur Mello? I think we all want him to be a success, and we've all heard these stories about him. Obviously, staying behind in the international break, getting trainers, physiotherapists, rejecting his leave, playing with the under-23s, etc., etc. And for him to not even be on the bench on the second game back in a Champions League game, to have 2 goalkeepers on the bench. I don't know. Did he pick up a knock? Was he a little bit ill? I don't know if it was in any of the press conferences, actually, but it beats me. If anybody has any information on that, please do let me know, because I think a lot of us are quite desperate to find out what it is. Or is he just genuinely not good enough? Was the stuff from Klopp about him not wanting him, was that actually true or not? Who knows? Jen says, hopefully Ramsey will get a chance in the next couple of games. And Anissa says, Elliott is very talented in my opinion, but I don't think we can play him and Trent together. Makes the right side too weak defensively. And Gary says, Starwin has to start against Arsenal. And Jen says, why not have 4? We had 3 for so long. We needed to change the game, and it also much better attacking wise. Yeah, no, from a one-off game perspective, completely. But in terms of going through a whole season, we just don't have the depth. We don't have that many attackers or that many wide midfielders and strikers to play that and be able to give them a rest. Because Jota's picks up an injury here and there, doesn't he? Salah's fine, Diaz is fine, but we need to rest them as well, otherwise they'll burn out. And Nunes, we don't really know. Firmino picks up the odd knock now. He's getting a bit older. Carter says we just need Curtis Jones back. He could actually play as a 10 or in the midfield 3. Curtis Jones is a very interesting one, and I'm really keen to see what happens with him this season. Where does he fit in? Is he still that left-sided number 8 that Klopp seems to like to play him as? It's the same as Elliott. I don't think he can be a winger. And then where else do you play him? Because we don't operate with a 10. And I just want to clarify, it was a 4-4-2, not a 4-2-3-1. We weren't playing with an out-and-out number 10. We were playing with a flat attacking bank of 4. But Jota would occasionally drop deeper. So that's very different. Very different. I was hoping Melo could be a Thiago backup. Really hope Klopp gives him a chance. Well, it just depends. I think it depends on Arthur. If you're good enough, Klopp will give you a chance. But is he good enough? Who knows? Gary says this is why the 3 midfielders should have come in. The summer was a missed chance. Jen says no, Arthur has a knock, and the story about Klopp not wanting him is rubbish, and it's been confirmed by the club. So if he has a knock, then that's fine. And then Issa says I want to see Carvalho in the 10 so badly. I don't know, man. Is he really good enough to have a free role? Because when we say a free role, we just imagine someone like Ozil being able to just completely go about their business. But Ozil was an elite attacking midfielder, and he was world class in what he did. Carvalho, Elliott, who else? There's somebody else we were thinking about, but those two especially. Yes, Elliott especially can't play wing. Maybe Carvalho can do a job on the wing. Both probably not suited to number 8s in our current system. But do you really think Carvalho's got enough about him to be a number 10? I don't know. I think when we signed him, a lot of people thought he might deputise as a false 9, and I'd like to see that, maybe. But as an out-and-out number 10, like the guy that attacks go through, I don't know. Especially with his age, for Liverpool Football Club, should we be relying on a 20-year-old or however old he is as our number 10? I don't know. It doesn't convince me, but maybe I'm being naive. Thoughts on Ben Davies yesterday? We're right to sell him. Yeah, he wasn't very good, was he? Curtis Jones is Thiago covering. If we were to play this 4-4-2, he could be in the 2 and play off Nunes or Jota. Yes, I'm not against that. Potentially. Yeah, potentially. Please, thank you very much, everybody who is tuning in, by the way. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. We are your number 1 place to be for Liverpool content. We go live every night at 7:30 to discuss everything Liverpool, whether that's team news, squad injuries, general news, transfer news, player analysis, transfer analysis, match previews, match watch-alongs, which we did yesterday, of course, post-match reaction. We've got it all covered here, so please do subscribe. And this is the weekly chat room. It goes live once a week. Don't always know which day because it just depends on schedules and stuff, but it's normally the one with the purple thumbnail, so keep an eye out for that during the day. And this is the one where we just spend time together, me and you. And I'll just go through the live chat and just answer questions, read out your comments, and just talk about whatever you want to talk about, really. So it's a really interactive show, and it's the more interactive you guys are, the better the show is overall. So it's all about you. So please do continue to get involved, and thank you for your continued support. Please do like the video, and please do subscribe to the channel as well. Daddy Pig says Carvalho has the technique to play a 10. He's skillful and can pass. Yeah, and I don't mean to be condescending. Yes, in a championship team, yes. Can he be? And this is the big difference. Can he be Liverpool's number 10? Liverpool Football Club's number 10. Is that Fabio Carvalho? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Could he play the number 10? Like, okay, maybe he could deputise as number 10 against Bournemouth, against Rangers. Could he be our number 10 against the top four? Against Chelsea, could he play number 10? Would he get bullied off the ball? Would he look isolated? Could he play against Man City? Could he play for Liverpool against Man City? Could he play for Liverpool against this Arsenal team, considering our form and considering their form? I'll leave that open, because I think there's a lot of people in this chat who do really rate Carvalho. Don't get me wrong, I rate him highly. But I think there's a big difference between playing as a winger for us, being the young winger, being, Harvey Elliott, a young centre mid with that support around you, and being the number 10. I feel like the number 10 is such an underrated, crucial position. You need to have somebody there who is so comfortable and so assured of themselves. Anissa says, I think we're at a point now where we have to take some risks and try something new. Teams have sussed us out. I mean, the thing with the 4-3-3, right? I don't think it's a case of teams sussing us out. I feel like it's a case of we've tried to tweak it in some way, and I think Pep Linders has had a big impact on this. I think he's tried to tweak it in some way that just is too much too soon. I don't think it's that teams have sussed us out. I think it's that we've tried to change too quickly, and the players are just not used to it. And also, just generally, that the effort looked off. And I don't mean to say they weren't trying. I'm not saying they weren't trying, but there was just something wrong that meant that we were consistently getting outran, we were consistently being out sprinted, and our press just looked off. And I don't think you can competently out-train a press unless you've just got elite footballers, right? So if Man City beat our press, then fair enough. But if you're good enough, you can always press Bournemouth. You can always press Napoli. You can always press who else have we played? Man United, right? I don't think you can suss that out, because of it didn't take teams 4 years to suss out that we're a counter-pressing team who play 4-3-3. Like, that was evident from the first full season that Klopp was in charge. I think we've tried to change too much too quickly, and what we were aiming for may not have even worked. So maybe that was part of it as well. We've rolled the dice a little bit, gone to a 4-4-2. It looks like it's worked albeit against Rangers. Now, where do we go from here? Do we keep it? Do we go back to type and try and just take that confidence across? That's the interesting question, I think. Carvalho needs to be neutered and played in the 10 role eventually, but there are others in front of him now. And Nisa says, I don't think Carvalho is a winger. No, probably not, but I think you can do a decent job there. I think it's slightly... With the right players around you, I feel like it's slightly less of a burden than being the number 10, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm just chatting rubbish. And Carter says, would you rather Bellingham or Rice in the summer? Personally, I'd go Rice. Fabinho hasn't been good enough for 2 years, and now we have to be ruthless, and if Fab gets back to his best, maybe we could 4-2-4. Well, the interesting thing, I think, is that with a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4, you've got two midfielders who are essentially CDMs. Like, that is what Thiago and Henderson were in that game. They were essentially a double pivot, primarily looking to cover the back four. So if you've got two players in that position, you don't necessarily need a Fabinho. That's what I was talking about. If Henderson can continue to perform as well as he did, Fabinho gets injured sometimes, but Thiago especially gets injured. But with two players there, you only need somebody of Jordan Henderson's ability to play there. With a bit of maturity and a bit of discipline, you only need somebody of Jordan Henderson's ability to be able to play there for that to work. Having somebody as good as Fabinho playing at his best is a massive bonus and will help you in some games where Henderson won't, don't get me wrong. Generally speaking, if you've got two players in the midfield dedicated to defending, then they don't need to be individually as brilliant as somebody like a Fabinho or a Rodri. Fabinho and Rodri were being compared and were being touted as some of the best CDMs in the world because they were doing that job on their own. Yes, the whole team defends in parts, but they both operated as lone number sixes, and that was a big. That's why they are considered the best. If you've got two people there, they don't need to be as good. If they are, brilliant, but it doesn't need to be. So, I mean, it doesn't really answer your question. I think I'd still rather Bellingham, to be honest with you. I don't know about Rice. I don't know if Rice has enough in a team that will control the ball more. I think he's obviously a bit of a big fish in a small pond at West Ham, but I think that kind of suits him. And I hate to make this comparison, but the same way as like Charlie Adam was good at Blackpool, like that's just his level kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if Rice would be brilliant in a top 4 team or not. I'm not sure, or if it'd be worth the money because Bellingham's expensive, but Rice ain't that much cheaper. He's like £80 million for a West Ham centre mid. Add another 40 onto that, or even less, and you get Bellingham, who is going to be your star midfielder for the next 10, 12 years. If you can, get him to stay around, obviously. Anissa said, I thought I was going to cry yesterday seeing Henderson actually cover Trent. And Daddy Pig says, Phil would have been good to get back at Villa. His touches, vision is too advanced for the rest of his teammates. If you want such a Judas, he would be a perfect 10. It's interesting. I mean, I'd always say never go back, really. It just wouldn't be the same. Also, he was at Barcelona. He was at Bayern Munich. And apart from the odd game, I know he did well in the Champions League with Bayern. He never stood out, did he? He was never the same once he left us. And I don't think he could just walk back in and be instantly as good. I think that's a bit of a fantasy. So I don't know. I'm glad we haven't decided to go back there necessarily. Anissa said it'd be quite funny if a Klopp team made the 4-4-2 fashionable again. Yep, it's coming back, baby. Sean Dyche will be delighted. You'll see it at the World Cup this winter. 4-4-2s all over the place. Villa in the mud, says Cedric. Are they playing today? I thought it was just Champions League. I don't think Coutinho's been that impressive at Villa, to be honest. The ship has sailed. I would never want him back. It's just a shame he did what he did. And Carter says, if we play any good teams with Thiago and Henderson, we will struggle. Thiago's the only one that could win the ball, and he can't even run. Well, there we go. That is the debate, isn't it? Arsenal, we can all banter them and say they're not good, whatever, but objectively this season they've been very good, much better than us in every single measurable way. Top of the league alongside Man City. No, they're top of the league, aren't they? So what can we do? Can we afford to play a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4? Can we have 4 out-and-out attackers on the pitch? Can we leave it to Thiago and Henderson? Or even Thiago and Fabinho? Is that strong enough? Bearing in mind, Arsenal will probably end up, if we play 4-4-2, they'll end up out. They'll have more midfield players on the pitch than we will. So, will we just get bypassed in the midfield? Will we go back to a 4-3-3? I know that's the title of the video, essentially. But I'm not here to answer it. I'm here to pose the question and get your guys' thoughts on it. Because I think it is interesting. And we'll find out very soon. It's only on Sunday and it's away from home, as you can see on the bottom there. Very, very cool. Villa struggling at the moment. Not sure how long Stevie will continue there. I hope he can turn it around a little bit. And the Coutinho transfer completely changed the way we played. It was actually a huge moment in the Klopp era, says Anissa. And Jen says we can beat them. We have to keep the energy and the pace. But they're going to fancy themselves, and it's at the Emirates. The crowd will actually be jumping for once at the Emirates because they are playing so well. They'll be well up for it. The players will know that this is a big game in their season because last year their undoing for the majority was not being able to perform in the big games when it really mattered against the big teams. Yes, they can go and blow away mid to lower table opposition, and that's a great skill to have. We never used to have it, and that was our biggest undoing. But the opposite applies to Arsenal. They're great at doing that, but they just can't, for the life of them, seem to actually, fight it out amongst the big boys. So the players will be aware of that, and they'll be wanting to prove themselves desperately. They're in great form, crowd up for it. Liverpool, yes, we beat Rangers, but ultimately we're still in a bad run of form. We have to win, absolutely have to win this game, can't draw it. So I'm excited, and we'll have plenty more build-up as the week goes on. It's only Wednesday, the game's on Sunday, so we've got a few days. Match preview will be on Saturday, but we're talking about it in the time between now and then anyway, and we will, of course, have a live watch-along for it. It's a 4:30 game, so we'll be live here from 4, and then post-match reaction immediately after as well. Haaland has scored for Man City against Copenhagen. I mean, who is even... I'd love to know the viewership of that game. It must be low. Like, it must be Man City and a few hopeful Copenhagen fans, deluded Copenhagen fans, and nothing else. Because why else would you watch that game? Of course, Man City are going to... Like, there's never been a more set-in-stone game where you know a team is going to win. Man City with Haaland versus Copenhagen. You know? Carter says, hopefully with the World Cup break, clubs will be more willing to make sales in January, and we might be able to bring at least one signing in a window earlier. And Cedric says, slightly worried about Arsenal match. Agree with Jen. Jota owns the Emirates, guys. It'll be fine, says Anissa. And Jen says, we love beating Arsenal. Come on. Well, we will see, won't we? Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. It's been another great show. Thank you for making the live chat so active and getting all your thoughts and questions in. As always, that is what the chat room's all about, so thank you. If you haven't done so already, please do like the video. It really does help us out more than you could know. And if you are new or haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. We go live every single night at 7:30, and yes, that includes tomorrow night. We'll be live at 7:30, same place, same time. Make sure that you do join us. You can also become a member if you would like to show real support. Sorry, that's a bad phrasing. Not real support, but even more support for the channel. You get access to exclusive stickers and badges to put beside your name in the live chat for a small monthly fee, which goes straight back into the channel and our content. We don't take a single penny out of the pot at this point. It just goes straight back into content. So do consider doing that as well. You can see Jen's got the badge next to her name, a few others as well. So please do consider doing that. Thank you, everybody, very much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday evening. Enjoy the Champions League matches, and we will see you tomorrow in the next